All right, so today I'm going to talk about how to keep children safe online. Specifically, I'm going to be introducing two topics, two definitions. So we're going to talk about sextortion and cyberbullying and the impact of these two definitions or two areas of concern in adolescents. I'm going to start with sextortion. Sextortion is the idea of having somebody reach out to a minor and befriends them. This would look like, I had a situation where this young man thought he was talking to a young lady, peer-age young lady. They were communicating, connecting really well. They were actually making this click and was really impressed that this young man was connecting so well with somebody. They knew him really well, and they started exchanging pictures. The material got more explicit, and then the unthinkable happened, right? When you send the wrong picture to the wrong person and you become now, someone is demanding money if you don't send more. So this young man was really traumatized and really hurt by this, thinking that he was meeting someone that was completely different. Now what happens? Teenagers become desperate. They don't know what to do. They're embarrassed to talk to their support system. They're embarrassed to admit what they send, or they feel at a loss. They feel like there's no way out. A lot of these teenagers, the result ends in different kinds of scenarios. They can either reach out to their support system and get the help that they need, or they decide to hurt themselves, in many ways, take their lives. So it can go in many different directions. This is the first definition that I want to discuss. The next one would be cyberbullying. Cyberbullying is happening more among teenagers peer age. It's happening between their friends at school, somebody they already know, and they're passing out the picture that's supposed to be sent for one person now gets distributed to a lot of people. And they're embarrassed at school. They are feeling betrayed by their friends, or maybe not by their friends, somebody that the friend sent the picture to someone else. However, there's a little twisted with this one. With all of the technology that is out there, AI-generated pictures are also becoming part of this cyberbullying. They are generating the picture to be now a nude picture when it originally wasn't, and now it has the face of the teenager, and now it's a nude picture. These are, the next three articles are articles that came out within a month. So it's happening, and there's more. I couldn't list all of them, but they say that the first one, the Florida teens arrested for creating deep fake AI nude images of classmates, was in Florida. It happened in December. They thought it would be funny, and they created those pictures. It was one of the first cases of what do we do? These pictures are AI created. They are not real, but it is impacting people. It is impacting the face of the person that was exposed. The other two talk about the FBI perspective on sextortion. That article was really good because it gives you a lot of tools, which we're going to talk about, of how to prevent this from happening, how to help your kids, how to talk to them, how to address these areas of concern. And the other one is just said not just online predators. So that one is about, it was a person that was having mental health issues. However, she started reaching out to different Facebook accounts, different Instagram accounts, and started creating pictures and started distributing those pictures. It was a person that was definitely creating a lot of drama, but it impacted a lot of teenagers that were posting pictures, and later she was exposing them in many different ways. So it is happening. That's why I put these articles, because it's happening more often than we think it is. Actually, one article that is not listed here, it happened in Ogden, and one of the things that they were describing that the victims are as young as 6 years old. I was blown away when I heard 6 years old. But the victims can be as young as 6 and 7 years old. Now, how is this happening? So these are the most popular apps, social apps, that teens and kids are using to connect. One of them, online gaming. This article specifically said that this person reached out to some kids that were playing Fortnite, befriended the kids, and that's how he got connected to them. So I was pretty blown away when I heard 6 years old. I have a 6-year-old of my own, and I was thinking, what is going on? This is way too young. But they are reaching out to as youngest as possible. And if they're playing online gaming, if they're using any of these apps, that's how they're connecting to teenagers. These apps are changing. Before, you could look at the history and see what your adolescent was looking at, what teenagers were looking at. Now, they can go through YouTube Shorts, TikTok videos, and I want to say in less than a minute, they can hit 10 or more. They can just scroll through them, and it doesn't keep track of all the things that they're viewing. It just says TikTok or YouTube, but not all the videos that they're going through. So these apps are really connecting in many different ways to teens, to the predators, or to people that want to hurt others, or want to get to know the teenagers. So, warning signs and recognizing red flags. I'm going to discuss these warning signs of how are we going to find out what's going on. First of all, I'd like to talk about problematic behavior, warning signs of problematic social media behavior. This is more of, is social media interfering with daily routines? They don't want to go out and do physical activity. They don't want to interact with other friends. They just want to be on their phone. It's comfortable being on your phone, seeing things that are funny, connecting with people in a way that you don't have to stress about it because you don't have to get ready and interact in person. So they avoid that in-person interaction. It's easier to do it online. The lack of impulse control. You know, a lot of times I have a 12-year-old that 5 minutes and 10 minutes can go, and he's like, what? 5 minutes are up already? It's because of that lack of impulse control. They can't keep track of time, it goes too fast, or it is just really entertaining to be playing a video game for so long. And so that lack of noticing the time and making sure that it's a good appropriate limit of gaming. So anyways, they're developing that. And that the only way we can help them develop is to give them an opportunity to practice. So, but it can be a problem when there's lack of impulse control. Lies. I'm going to be in my room doing my homework and we're on social media. I'm going to be, just reading a book and we're on social media. So just lies that we can use to engage in social media. A lack of interest from interacting with other people. A lot of people can have true, genuine anxiety to be interacting with others. It's easier to interact behind a screen. And that withdrawal, that lack of desire to interact, feeling nervous when they're interacting among other people. They avoid discussion. They avoid wanting to have one-on-one discussion. 84% of the teens use social media. So almost all of the teens, and 62% agreed that they used it every single day for about an hour and 45 minutes. If we do the math, if they're going to school, they're there for 8 hours, they come home, they use social media for another 2, the day goes by, social media can even be used. There was even Common Sense Media. They even said that some teenagers use social media for 9 hours throughout. YouTube Shorts, little videos here and there, between breaks. It can add up pretty fast. Okay, so how do we recognize sextortion for adolescents? So this slide specifically for adolescents. These are topics that adolescents need to know. If they have flattering compliments, who doesn't like to be complimented? But if they're connecting in a way that They're trying to make these connections, these compliments, trying to, they're looking at their social media in many different ways so they can connect, so they can say what you like, and, oh, I'm so glad you like to play sports. So these are comments that are happening. You're so handsome. You are so pretty. They can send gifts or money. I would like to send you this. I really like you. It's a small gift. So they're trying to groom the adolescent. They can start discussing inappropriate subjects. Sometimes those inappropriate subjects can be like, nobody understands me. I'm having so many issues with my life. That connection, that grooming starts happening, and then the introduction of these inappropriate subjects comes in. So they're asking them to keep a secret. Can I tell you something you're not going to tell anyone? You're the only one I can talk to. You're the only one I can connect with. You're the only one that listens. And if I don't tell you this secret, I can't tell anyone. So it's, again, that grooming and that connection. A lot of times they can even turn family and friends. Oh, don't listen to your parents. Don't listen to your friends. They don't understand. They don't see you the way I do. They don't understand how you're feeling. I'm the only one that understands how you feel. They're probably just want to make your life miserable, right? So they're trying to put people against them. So then they can only count on the person that they're trying to connect. So this is happening fast. This isn't taking weeks or anything like that. This is happening fast. And then they're asking for revealing images. Images that, oh, I really want to get to know you more. You look so beautiful. You look so handsome. Here, I'm going to send you this picture. The exchange of pictures starts taking place, and then the blackmail. And that's where it gets really scary for a lot of adolescents. It was what I was describing at the beginning. They feel alone and isolated. So those are some of the warning signs. These are some of the warning signs for parents. Recognizing sextortion for parents. If you see your adolescent receiving gifts or randomly having things that you never bought them, where did they come from? If somebody's calling them from unknown numbers, right now we don't have a landline, not a lot of us do, but if you're looking at their phone and you're seeing phone numbers that are not recognized, they're not usually the friends that connect with them. If they're starting to reject family and friends, they don't want to spend as much time with mom and dad. They don't want to connect with siblings. They just want to be left by themselves. If they're getting upset, if they can't be online, if they're making a big deal, I can't connect with my friends, you don't understand, you want me to isolate, if that's becoming a problem, those are some warning signs. If they're minimizing their screen, a lot of times teenagers don't have a screen. A lot of times they do. If they're hiding their phone, if they're not allowing you to see what's going on in their phone, they're more secretive, they're trying to hide it. And I'm not saying that this is definitely happening, sextortion is happening if one of these things are present. It's just a good opportunity to open a discussion, to talk about this. Some of the tactics they use, they reciprocate. If I can send you a picture, you can send me a picture. They try to get you to do this game of I show you, you show me. A lot of times they pretend to work for modeling agencies. They pretend they're going to make them famous. They're going to get to, a lot of people are going to get to know you. I just need some pictures. I discussed the developing a bond with a minor. They use a lot of false online identities from different Instagram, Facebook, from different of the apps, TikTok. They also pretend to be younger. I had a situation where the young man thought he was exchanging pictures with an adult. And it was a young adult too, and they thought that, everything is okay. And then it ended up being a minor. It ended up being a 16-year-old. And how can you tell from an 18-year-old and a 17-year-old, from a 16-year-old and an 18-year-old? A lot of times they look exactly the same. But this young man thought it was all nice and it was fine because, it was adults and consenting adults and not a problem. And then the blackmail begins. So young adults are also being targeted in this tactics. And also threatening to create sexual images. So threatening to, this young man unfortunately sent videos, and they threatened that these videos were going to go to the cops. They were going to be all over his social media if he didn't give up the money. So the next thing, now we see the picture, right? We see sextortion, we see cyberbullying. Now I want to talk about prevention. Prevention, what do? So prevention comes with having open, respectful, and meaningful communications. I've heard a lot of times with the clients I've worked with, I don't want to talk to my kids about that because I'm going to give them ideas. Well, these discussions are already happening at school. These ideas are already there. The fact that they're not being discussed at home doesn't mean they don't know them. So making sure that meaningful conversations are coming up. And if that's one of the fears of I don't want to give them ideas, it can be open-ended questions. So what do you think about, have you ever heard of, what are your thoughts about sextortion? I have no idea what that is. Okay, maybe they don't, right? So just open-ended questions can lead to good, meaningful discussions. Talking about online social manners, I thought it was interesting. You think about, okay, when you meet someone, you greet them, say thank you, in-person interaction, right? You teach your kids all of these things. And then to think that now you need to teach your kids online manners. You need to teach how they're going to interact with people online, how to have good etiquette online so you can stay protected. How to talk about trust and how to trust people when you're talking to them. So we're going to go into more of that in the next slides. Also asking questions about their online world and being involved. A lot of times my son comes up, home with words that I have no idea what he's talking about. So I have to slow down and find out, okay, what do you mean with that? What is that supposed to mean? Or, he always says, when I talk to him, he always says cap. And I'm thinking like, cap? What does that mean? What do you mean, right? And so then I learned cap is you're lying. You're capping, Mom. You're capping. Okay. So these words, these things, I have to slow down and get involved in their level, understand what he's meaning, what he's talking about. And he's only in 6th grade. So the fun is just beginning for me. It'll be more when he starts in junior high, but getting into his world is helping me build that connection and that trust. The other thing is identifying other people that he can trust, other people that he can connect. If he doesn't want to talk to Mom, he can, sometimes love me but hate me at the same time. If he doesn't want to talk to me, who's another trusted adult that he can go to? Who is someone that he can connect? Dad? If Mom and Dad, he doesn't want to connect with either one of us, then who would be someone else? So making sure that we're allowing them to have a good support system, people that they can trust. Having, rules about electronics, good expectations of when we use them, when we put them away, how we control the use of the electronics. All of that helps them start building that emotional regulation, making sure that they understand these rules and expectations. Learning about privacy settings. There's a lot of ways to do parental controls on a phone. And there's a lot of ways to go around those parental controls. I work with a lot of adolescents, and I know they know a lot of tricks. Oh yeah, well, I relapsed on pornography because I know the way around it to the parental controls. So one of the things I always talked with my adolescents when I'm counseling is your biggest filter, your biggest control is up here. So we got to help them build that filter, build that connection. It's going to be up here. The phone, it's going to be helpful to have those parental controls. I don't want to minimize that. Definitely we need to have those parental controls, but it's important to have internal boundaries, external boundaries. The parental controls are external boundaries. Up here are internal boundaries. So if we can help our adolescents set those boundaries, it's easier to catch themselves as they're trying to use, social media in a healthy way. The last one, make a report. It is very important to know what happens. The picture is out there. Now what do? We don't have any control when a video or picture is out on the web. Now it's free for all. Anybody can have access to it. Anybody can be exposed to it. So what do? NCMEC is the organization that has created a lot of help for parents. They actually have something that's called Take It Down and a cyber tip line. So if at any point you know there's a video that is being exposed out there, involves a minor that you can contact them and let them know these are the videos, and they have a way to take it down. It's hard, but it's a place to start. And they're really good at connecting with parents to help stop, to remove the content online. They also are good with having a cyber tip line. If you feel like, well, my son was, or my daughter was targeted by someone, and this someone is this person, you can call and give that tip, and they can do the investigation. They are working really hard to track down all the people that are hurting minors. Obviously, it's hard, but they are doing their work. So the more help they have, the better. A lot of times, it's very easy to feel alone in this battle. So NCMEC wants, to open that line of conversation and to know that you don't have to feel alone. You can contact them. There's help out there. Okay, so a few things. How do we talk about sextortion with our kids? So this is having like a 30-minute conversation with your son. Not 30-minute, sorry, 30-second. I don't think kids want to talk to you for 30 minutes. So in my dreams, right, to have a conversation with my son for 30 minutes. 30 seconds. So having just questions. Has anyone ever sent you a picture of themselves and got passed around at school? I've had that discussion with my son. He's into this, snapping pictures when people are distracted, and he always gets me. I have the face that's like, the angry face, the funny looking face, and it's like, really, again? So he's always doing this, but he's always doing this with his friends too. So it's a good opportunity for me to say, if you send that picture to your group of friends, is that going to be nice? How would you feel if you were that face, that funny looking face that you're sending around? And so having that discussion, because it doesn't always start like right away a nude picture gets sent. It starts slowly, right? So as I'm discussing with him, passing pictures around, I also talk to him about once that picture is in that group of friends, it is gone. My son has braces, and I think he took a picture of himself with braces, sent it to a friend, that friend sent it to the group, and my son got pretty hurt because his teeth are pretty crooked. And so it was pretty impactful for him to see that power of the picture, how powerful it is to send the wrong picture to the wrong friend, and how he could misuse that picture. Good thing it was just his teeth, right? So it was a good discussion to have with him. What if you were sending pictures that were more revealing? What could happen? So having those discussions. And can you think of how someone could use that kind of picture? So he noticed how they could use that picture. They made fun of him, and a lot of times they're in this competition of how can I burn him because he burned me, and it's just the never-ending cycle of burning each other, right? So having that discussion is helpful, because that was just, like I said, a picture of mouth. The pictures can get more revealing. Especially he doesn't have access to online. He begs every day, and I say no, but he doesn't have any access to social media yet. And so when he does, it's going to be important to be able to have these discussions, because social media, that's where you post all your pictures and you post all the fun things that you do. And I know there's one that Be Real, always posting things of being real and things like that. And then how those pictures and those videos are being misused when they use the AI technology. So just being very cautious of the power of a picture. The new version of Don't Talk to Strangers. We've always had that discussion. You don't talk to anyone when you're walking to school. Don't talk to anyone that approaches you in a car or wants to say, "Hey, do you want to see my puppies?" All of these things that we're teaching. There's a fun video online, right, where he's at the park and says, if I ask your daughter, do you want to see my puppies? Is she going to say no, definitely no? And of course, he's a complete stranger. He goes to the park and says, do you want to see my puppies? And she's like, yeah, I do. And goes off with the stranger. That is happening online. A lot of times I ask my son, so what would happen if somebody comes in and talks to you and says this and it's a stranger? Oh, Mom, I would never know. So who did you play on Fortnite? I don't know. I didn't even know that guy. He was pretty good. What happened there? You didn't talk to a stranger? You know what I mean? It is happening. So having those discussions. What did you do? What would you do if it happened? So we've had that discussion after he said, I don't know. I don't know who I was playing, but he was pretty good. So we've had those discussions. Okay, when you're playing online, why are you playing with strangers? Definitely I need to adjust the settings, right? I think one of the times I adjusted the settings because he couldn't add a friend and I had blocked it. Mom, because you block everything, I can't add friends. So I unblocked it. I forgot to block it again, and now he was playing with strangers. So things like that are happening. Like I said, as young as 6 years old. And it was interesting. My son was actually, as I was preparing for this presentation, I was driving and I said, hey, can you read this article to me? I did it on purpose, but he was reading the article, and he read, as young as 6 years old, Mom, who would play Fortnite at 6 years old? I said, honey, you did. I did. Sometimes he was pretty shocked that some people would have connections with other people at 6 years old, and of course he did, right? So having these discussions, why do you think someone would want to reach to a kid online was a good discussion that I had with him. It's easy to pretend that someone you're not online and not every person is a good person. So having that discussion of what that means online, who's a good person, who's not a good person. So making sure those discussions are happening. And if those discussions have happened, you can add a different version to it because these things keep changing and they can add a different flavor. I'm here to help. So it's important to be able to have this, I'm here to help. What happens? That was one of the things that Elder Ronlund was saying, right? If an adolescent comes to you and says, this has happened, applaud them. So good that you were able to come. Thank you for telling me. Thank you for coming and discussing this. And for adolescents, if at any point you feel like my mom is going to be so mad or my dad's going to be so mad or my support system is going to be so mad, they're going to open hands. They are going to hug you and take you in and accept that discussion of I can help you, because that's what should be happening at home, to be able to connect and to discuss. So I'm always very happy when my son comes and shares with me different things. He's received several text messages of you have a package, click this link. And I've been very happy that he's like, Mom, this is a scam, right? And I said, yes, let's block it. Let's block it. And we know what happens when we click on those, you have a missing package. It usually leads to inappropriate content. So making sure that we're having this discussion, they can come and help. And discussing how scary it is, discussing that these things are happening. These news articles that I was sharing, they are happening. To be able to have that discussion and to say, I'm here to help. I can support you. And how scary it is to have, connect with someone for several weeks, to think that they are your best friend, and then to know that this person is abusing that trust and actually asking for money and demanding money because you sent the wrong picture, right? Okay, so media strategies and safety. These are the things I'm going to mention next are a few strategies that we can use. So remember developmental progression. What do I mean by that? With going along with the example of my son, the first time he got a phone was in January. He turned 12 and we decided that we were going to give him a phone. The only thing he can do is call and text. That would be developmental progression. it doesn't have to be 12. It can be whatever age you decide. But you provide whatever it is that you're providing. A phone. You allow them to have a phone. And then you allow them to create that good self-regulation. And then at some point, I don't know when, maybe when he's 18, I'll give him social media. I don't know, probably not 18, but at some point we will allow some other sort of communication. So it's that developmental progression. At what age is it appropriate for your son or daughter to have XYZ? You get to decide. At what age do you want them to have access to social media? There was a discussion in January, the judiciary discussion that they had, where Facebook, or Meta, now it's Meta, right? Meta, Instagram, TikTok, a lot of the CEOs were present, and they were asking, what are some other parental controls that you are using to protect adolescents? That presentation was very impactful for me because it started with parents discussing the story of their children and how they lost their children due to sextortion, and how they lost their children because a report was made and for whatever reason they didn't consider the discussion, the conversation, the report to be good enough to say take it down. The discussion kept going, and then several kids ended up committing suicide. So these people are confronting them and saying, what are you doing for parental controls? And a lot of them said, 13 plus, and they give an age. It's interesting, a few of them actually did the parental controls a few weeks before that big meeting. I wonder why, right? But those parental controls are there, but we got to learn to use them. And that's where the developmental progression. I see a lot of people have access to social media at a very young age, and the parental controls are supposed to be at 13. So that is the decision of every parent, but being able to provide that appropriate developmental progression. Teaching self-regulation, making sure that they learn to do the self-regulation. This is where you say you need to get offline, you need to stop the video game, they throw a big tantrum, they get mad. There's no self-regulation. So making sure that we're giving that opportunity to teach the self-regulation where they can, setting good specific boundaries are very helpful for anyone, even for us. Knowing the expectations are very helpful. Knowing how long they can be on social media, how long they can be on a gaming app can allow them to have good self-regulation. Allowing them to have some time they can be mad, but they know the rule, they know the expectation, and this is the consequence. Making sure that is being set to be able to create good self-regulation, allowing them to know how to, a lot of times they turn to video games when they're feeling overwhelmed and stressed. Allowing them to learn different ways to release all the stress. Physical activity, different activities that they can do to release all the stress instead of just the online gaming. Encourage talking. I shared 3 scenarios, very important to encourage talking. Modeling appropriate use. A lot of times I tell my kids, no cell phones on the table and mine is there. I need to model appropriate use. A lot of times, let's disconnect from social media and then I'm on my social media. So making sure that we're modeling what we're asking them to do. Making sure that is a clear expectation, not just for them, but for us. Media safety plan. These are important things to include in a media safety plan. Questions that can help to get started when you're creating a media safety plan. What are the goals regarding the technology? How can you use the technology to bring you closer to your family, or ways that it can bring you apart, so to make sure that that's a discussion. What do we do with cell phones at certain times? That's what I was discussing. If we're eating dinner together, no cell phones. If we're spending time together as a family, going out, let's put our cell phones away. You get to decide what that's going to look like. How should we deal with media privacy concerns such as passwords, protected apps, text messaging, emails, making sure that whatever device you're adolescent has, you know how it works. If you're going to give them a cell phone, you understand all the rules about parental controls, all the rules that you're going to use. Even for yourself, a computer, what are the parental controls? Being educated. Before I gave a cell phone to my son, I learned everything about Android phones and iPhones. I learned everything, probably not everything, but I did a lot of research to know what would be the best fit for my son. And then I provided a phone. So we get to make those choices, and we can even make them together with our kids. And setting some good rules to help manage technology. There's actually a website that is that it was used to create. Let's see if I can. Okay, so this is the American Academy of Pediatrics, and it walks you through how to create or update your media or family media safety plan. In here, you're supposed to put the family name, you're supposed to put the member, whoever, the age group, and it was really interesting because it guided you through goals that you wanted to focus. So it went through priorities, media balance, communicating about media, kindness and empathy, digital privacy and safety, screen-free zones, screen-free times, choosing good content, using media together. And you get to click what you want to focus on. You get to decide. Each of them have a specific topic. They ask a specific question. It was a really good media safety plan to create with your family. You can create it as a family. Of course, everybody's going to be different. The ages, very different. My oldest is 12, but my youngest is 3. Very different, right? So I can modify it to fit the needs of all of my kids and to make sure that we are making sure that we have a good boundary for everyone. A lot of times we're going to feel like, this is so unfair, Mom. Why do I have the same rules? So I really did like this approach of this media safety plan. This was something that, it was a good discussion to have with my kids. What do you want to focus on? If you focus on everything, it's probably going to be too overwhelming. But if you pick 1 or 2 things, practice them for a few weeks, and then you can add one more thing, was very helpful. The list is long, and there's a lot of goals and objectives. So it was very thorough. I was very impressed. I just want to finish up by saying that making sure that we have good boundaries is the best way to protect our kids, because the world is not stopping. These things are out there. Having good discussions, making sure that our adolescents can come and talk to us and they can feel safe when they talk to us is going to have a huge impact on anyone, on all of our adolescents, children, making sure that those channels of communications are open for them is going to be really big. So that was one of the biggest things that I have learned as I've worked with a lot of adolescents, with a lot of adults. A lot of times they didn't feel understood. They didn't feel like they could come to whoever because they were going to feel judged. They were going to feel like nobody understand them. So making sure that they are feeling that support is going to be really impactful. And I just want to finish with saying I know we can do it, and these resources are out there. There are a lot. This conference is great that we're here and that we can find the help that we need. Thank you for your time.